Ertan, we're both in Fiji. How are you feeling?
Well, this is a paradise place. It's a wonderful location. I think everyone, including me, everybody thinks this is a wonderful place.
Yeah.
And we're enjoying every single day.
Yeah, probably enjoying it more because you've just sailed over 12,000 miles to get here.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, why doesn't it feel like it? Because you've got Starlink and just like running your normal life?
Yes, yeah, having a Starlink is wonderful. You just keep in touch with everything as if you're at home.
Yeah. So just to remind everyone, you and I did an interview in Panama, which is still online on the MGR website YouTube link, so someone can get into your background and talk, get to know you and all the other things, like your Golden Globe experience and all that. So this is all about just Panama to here. Did you enjoy the ride?
The ride was excellent. Funny enough, the only time we had a bad weather that you could call the bad weather is that the journey from Tonga to Fiji, because we had 4 days of high winds, but the wind and the waves were coming the right direction, so it wasn't so bad. But apart from little discomfort, it was a nice journey.
Yeah. Really. So how's your relationship now with Trekker?
It always has been good. I have no problems with Trekker at all. I mean, she's home.
Yeah.
She's home, and she's pretty good. She's having all new wires being fitted at the moment. And
rigging wise, yeah.
Yes, and everything is working on her. I mean, she's looking nice and shiny, and she's ready for the next leg.
Yeah. So do you enjoy living on board? Like, is the human dynamics that is comfortable or challenging?
Yes.
Or?
At sea is more comfortable than when you're on a marina, I guess. At sea is very comfortable. In the marina, I guess it is. You got more people around, so you have to be more careful.
Yeah. So okay, how do you feel now that you've come so far in terms of what you thought it would be like when you made the decision to join the MGR? Because I think you made the decision pretty quickly after you retired from the GGR. Yes.
Well, all my life, all my decisions are done instantly. So I do make mistakes regularly, whether it's business or whatever, and but I that's how I am. I decide instantly that I want to do something, and I go and do it. And if it doesn't work out, I call it an education.
So have you been educated, or you're still enjoying the ride?
No, the MGR has been everything I expected.
Yeah.
It has been relatively easy journeys since we started Les Abdelon, since I started Les Abdelon. And it has been very entertaining because all these wonderful places that I would have never seen otherwise, that I am seeing, and so it has been a wonderful experience so far. And these stops, I mean, I'm now looking forward to go to Darwin, and I've never been to Australia, and everybody tells me it's a super place. So I'm looking forward to Darwin right now, and again, I feel very lucky. I hope I am alive and I get there safe and sound in one piece to Darwin, and that's what's in my mind now, but I won't think about it till nearer the time we are leaving.
Yeah. Okay. And you I mean, you didn't come into this event, overweight or too much excess, but you haven't really changed a lot over the journey, so the life on board is doing you well. You look fit and healthy, and you feel it. How do you feel physically?
I mean, I sleep a lot. And Win Wayne does all the work, and I always make sure whatever boat I'm sailing is that the boat works for me rather than I work for the boat.
Yeah.
So I rarely do anything on the boat other than just change the sails when it's necessary, and when I'm inside the boat, I've got these long lines that comes into my bed. If I want to change the direction of the boat, I can do it while I'm laying down watching Netflix. So it is. She's a very, very easy boat to control.
Yeah.
To live with, and all you have to do, if the wind picks up, you reduce sail. If you start slowing down, and you just put up a bit more sail. And so she's a very, very easy boat to live with. To living in it and also sailing it. She's a very easy boat.
Yeah. How do you work your sleep patterns? Tell me a 24-hour day in your life on board the boat, from sunrise to sunrise.
Okay, from 7:30 onwards, it starts getting dark, and I'm often ready for sleep by that time. So if the boat is going well, I will fall asleep, and I will probably stay in bed most of the night, and I will check every now and again, see if there is anything happening, or I will have
You
a look
set an
at,
alarm, or you just
no,
let it
I
go?
don't. I don't use an alarm. So I just wake up whenever I wake up. I have a look around, and I look at the sky at night time, see if I can see the stars, and I do that regularly. And I also look at the barometer every once in a while, and if I can't see the sky and it is full of clouds, then I pay attention to what's happening outside. But if I can see all the stars, then I go back immediately to sleep, meaning that there is not going to be much change for the foreseeable future. Again, I can fall asleep, and that goes on till about 3-4 in the morning. Then I've had my sleep. Then I start calling home because it's the right time to call home. Then I spend 2-3 hours on FaceTime with my family, with the children.
Every day?
Every day, yeah. And then I talk to RJ again in the evenings as well. I mean, she's fed up with me. I think I call her at least 3 times a day.
What do you talk about?
Oh, I mean, it's endless. And there's just so much, we just talk about all kinds of... We talk about business, the children, the family, and what's happening to the house, and also sort of... I mean, there's loads of things. I mean, there's so much to talk about. So I don't get bored talking to her,
Yeah. Okay, so that's the whole cycle. What about during the day?
Well, during the day it's a bit of a problem because they're all sleeping during the day because of the hour difference. I spend quite a bit of time...
Hang on, you're sailing the boat.
Well, no, boat is sailing itself.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because nearly 90% of the time you are not really engaged with it because she's doing all the work on her own.
Yeah.
And when it is like this, the weather, so I spend quite a lot of time inside the boat because it's too hot outside. So normally if I'm going to spend time outside, it'll either be when the sun starts going down in the afternoon, or when it's dawn, before the sun comes up. Those few hours, I really like sitting by the transom and just watching the world go around, and I really enjoy that for a few hours. And vice versa in the evening as well, I do the same thing. But when the sun goes up, at least for about 3-4, it's too hot outside, too sunny, I go inside, I put a couple of movies on, or I read something, and I spend my time inside the boat.
Yeah. So, and what about food? What about cooking?
Well, the other thing is that my daily ritual is normally this. Every morning, when normal circumstances, I wake up, I wash my clothes, I take a shower. So I do this about 1 hour spent doing those things every day, and I will have a breakfast around about that time. And I will try to eat again in the afternoon, but generally I often have to make myself to eat. I don't really get hungry so very much at sea, maybe because I don't really do so very much. But I do try. I force myself to eat at least 2 decent meals a day every 24-hour period.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I mean, I do lose weight every time I arrive at the destination. Arzu says you've lost weight, and she's probably right because I have lost weight because I don't eat as much as I should perhaps.
Yeah. Then you catch up in port?
Immediately, very quickly actually, too quickly.
Interesting about your sleep patterns, and maybe it's because we're both young, around 30 or something.
Of course, yes.
I sleep a truckload when I'm on the boat. I say that in the context, if I'm sleepy, I sleep. If I'm not sleepy, I don't sleep. And most of the time I won't set an alarm either. We've maybe from a different school, I'll have no hesitation of sleeping for 3-4 hours at a time, if that's the way it's needed. And you feel comfortable with the sea and the sky, because I hear others talk about, I never sleep longer than 45 minutes or an hour or something, and I think, gee, but...
What about afternoon nap? Do you do afternoon naps?
No, not because it's an afternoon nap. I know what you mean. It's only when I feel tired, because it's my way of thinking is it's not good to get overtired, and it's hard to recover if you get too tired. So I'm always, if I'm nothing going on, I'm sleeping or just laying in the bunk, not watching Netflix because it never existed for me before. But just that attitude, it's a different mindset where you accept the risks involved because you've done your own value judgment of the potential for any shipping to be around and boats, and if there's nothing there, no point in sitting up there forever. So I'm a bit like you in some ways with that one.
And the Pacific Ocean is extraordinary. There is, when you sail in Atlantic, whether it's Southern Atlantic, North Atlantic, there is a lot of traffic, comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
Compared to Pacific. In Pacific, really, Ocean, I saw so few vessels since leaving Panama City.
Yeah.
Which I found that quite surprising.
Yep. Too true. So that's cool. So where's the screaming moments for you? The super highs where you see something, because you're pretty, I won't call you bland, but you're pretty down the line with emotions. You know, you see some big laughing going on in bits and pieces at time, but you're never jumping up and down and saying, wow, you know, look at this, blah, blah, blah. But there must have been something that happened when you saw something. What's the biggest peak that you've had?
I don't know, nothing has happened that, I mean, I am so happy all the time.
Yeah.
The environment that I am in 24 hours a day, then I feel so very lucky to experience what I experience every day. And really there's nothing there that I could say, oh my God, it's been extra special there. I think every day is very special, and only time the heart's beating is when suddenly squall comes and suddenly 40-knot winds, and you obviously want to make sure that there is no damage to the boat, and that's the only time really the urgency arises. Other than that, there is no urgency, and nor I don't get excited about. I mean, I wish I could catch fish every now and again. It happens so very rarely. I would like to be excited about catching fish, but I'm so terrible at it. I'm going to go and see somebody here, see what kind of lures they use. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. So how are you coping with the when you retired from the GGR, it was all about communication, and now you've got it, it's like unlimited communication. You're doing everything as if you're online. What happens to you? Does it take you off the boat, you know, like when you're doing it and you don't even think about the boat because you're just running your normal world? And
well, I am running a normal life.
Yeah.
Other than physically working at work, I am in. I mean, I can even watch my dogs at home on webcam, and so it is very much being normal as if I am at home. With regard to, you can do your banking, you can do your business dealings, you can do so much, and I also do a lot of researching. You know, if I want something, I research about it, and I have so much more time to research things and read about things that I didn't used to have. So I look at each report in a slightly different angle because I spend so much more time thinking about it.
Yeah.
So the life is very normal. I mean, I must say, so far, it doesn't feel like we've come all this way from Les Abdelon. It really doesn't feel like it.
So your days are being filled up with the normal life sort of thing. That's amazing.
And we have been very lucky with the weather, I must say.
Yeah, I think you're right. But that's part of the trade wind route. You know, like ever from the late 70s, you know, you used to read stories about boats sailing from America across the Pacific, and they'd be really challenged to put their second reef in because they'd go down to New Zealand or something because they'd never done it before. Yeah. It's trade winds, and I think I'm seeing like normal stuff. Everyone that's been going through this leg, it has been pretty good generally. It's typical trade winds. There's nothing there that I call global warming yet, you know, or climate change. You know.
On the next leg, we'll have this barrier reef to pass through.
Yeah,
that'll be exciting. I think I've never done it before.
Yeah, and, well, you know, it's interesting because I'm getting this feedback. We're going to have to sit down with everyone and have a big chat because having spent a long time in the reef and sailing in reefs and just not even going anywhere near land, just anchoring every night and in reefs, once you understand what it does and how it works, it's no big deal. Like, you know, you treat it with respect, but those that have never experienced it before, I can see there's a degree of hesitation and fear of the unknown. But Rain Island, going through there up to around the top of Cape York is challenging, but not extreme at all, you know. But going to be interesting. So
it will be nice. I think.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic.
We can't just go fall asleep for the next 10 hours because if there are reefs around, you have to be on tiptoes until you pass these obstacles.
But even with that, if you get too tired or the sun's in the wrong direction or things like that, you just go and anchor behind a reef as well. Because they're like islands, you know. They're just like a breakwater. You just go and anchor there. It's strange because the tide comes in and there's nothing. You're just out in the middle of the ocean, but you're anchored and it's flat calm, you know. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But anyway, stuff to talk about later. So you made the decision because you have the option to go to Thursday Island or Darwin, but not both. So you're going to go to Darwin?
Yes, because normally after a journey, I like civilization. I like people. I like traffic.
Yeah.
I like all the things that we normally enjoy, so I will definitely prefer to be in a city and see things.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So have you thought much about the plans going down to Cape Town? It's 9,700 miles or something, or you just take it as it comes?
Yeah, I only ever think one leg at a time, and I have to arrive to Darwin safely in one piece
Yeah.
with my boat in order for me to plan the next leg. So until that happens, I can't really make any plans for
Yeah.
the next leg, because you don't know what's going to happen for the next 3,000 miles or wherever,
Yeah.
however long it takes. So
Too true. So the way this conversation is going, I could ask you the question: why are you doing the GGR? Forget about Starlink, forget about all the bits and pieces.
Okay,
What's the attraction for you?
You cannot compare GGR with anything else.
No.
It is. I mean, nobody can compare it. GGR is something entirely different. It really is so very extreme to be with yourself, and you have this mind games, and you have this constant need to know what's happening to the loved ones, what's happening around. And although nobody needs you, but you need them to know. I certainly need them, and I certainly need to know that they're okay. And that is a very difficult obstacle to overcome, and GGR is something entirely different. No one can.
It's tough, it's horrible, it's grueling,
Just you look at the results of the people, the finish, and amount of people try. You have over 50 people attempted, you have less than 20 start, and you have few people that finish.
Yeah.
And they don't all stop because they break their boats. They often have, a lot of them have a lot of mental problems on the route. And I know even those who finish, they have mental problems, because we talk to one another.
Everyone
it is
does,
very hard, and it all depends how much you're prepared to push yourself, how much you're prepared to do for the GGR. And GGR is something entirely different, and no one can underestimate GGR. And when people call me about the GGR, and I said, everything you worried about, you shouldn't. It is what you don't worry about, what you should worry about.
Yeah.
And that is very important, and it never comes out of my mind. I'd love to again, as you know, try it again. It's never come out of my mind, and it's very difficult. I failed twice, but I also learned a great deal as an education, and I'd love to try again.
This is really interesting, because I don't ever believe, when you retired in Cape Town, I believed you had succeeded because it had answered the question, you know what I mean? And you could move on, and you joined the MGR. Now I asked the question on the GGR because now I ask you the question of why you're doing the MGR.
MGR is, compared to GGR, it is like a holiday going around the world. This is like a holiday. You can rebuild your boat in every stop. You can go home. You can do so much stuff. So this is a holiday going around the world. Yeah, really is.
Yeah. Okay. So I tend to agree with part of that. It's an adventure. It's serious. You're just doing it really well. I think it's part of the challenge now for us, as you know. I've stalled off on the press release going out, and wait till you see the headline on this press release. He's a doozy. In fact, I can tell you, because you'll be after it. It's the mad bastard might be right. McIntyre MGR. Because when we announced the Mini Globe Race, I immediately picked up the tabloid headline of being, what's the mad bastard doing now? With the whole concept of the MGR being totally obscure and a bit crazy.
I mean, look at the people who is doing this race.
Yeah, well, now that's what I'm getting to. Is now the fleet's not halfway around the world, but with 12,000 miles, they've gone a long way, and it's working.
Yeah. And look at the different type of people. Each one is so very different than the other, and everybody has their own agenda, their own plan, their own ambitions. Yeah, it is wonderful. I mean, it really is, and I hope next time you have twice as many people doing this race in 3 years' time, and I think everybody will have a wonderful experience. I'm certain of it. Yeah,
I think the challenge at the moment is I think all of you are making it look too easy. Because it's all going well. I mean, and I say that in the context the boat design and the concept is right, it's working, and the sailors have done really well to prepare. There's a really good preparation, and so everyone's minimised the risk as much as possible, and they're here because the weather's been good, but there's still been plenty of challenges.
I mean, look, there is 4 or 5 meter seas, and every time those big waves comes, she lifts her skirt up, and you just continue on. You can fall asleep in those conditions, and these high winds. The boat seems to handle it really well. You wouldn't think so on a 19-foot boat, but it does. Yeah. And you feel always safe with the boat.
Yeah. I agree. Do you think about John Guswell much?
Well,
what he did?
Obviously I read his book, and he, funny enough, his worst time happened was in the ocean when cyclone he was in. But his story is very much different than ours. He had a much longer time scale to do these things, I mean, what he did was wonderful, but what we are doing is entirely different than what he did.
Yeah.
And
similar but completely different.
I think so. Yeah. And also he did it because he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And he did it on his own. He had no anyone to compare to go sailing with. He couldn't share his problems with anyone. There was no technology at the time. He had to fix everything himself. So his time was very different, very much harder in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I think he had a tougher time going around the world than we are, because we have so much more that we are taking advantage of.
Yeah, we're more aware, and often fear is fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
But we sort of know, even right back to him, that he did it, so that means it's possible, you know.
I mean, apart from one person, everybody is a Starlink, everybody is connected to the internet of some kind. So everybody knows what's happening all the time. So we can't really compare our journey to the John Guswell's. What he did was, in his time, was entirely different than what we are doing right now.
Yeah, yep, too true. So if there's anything you could change on Trekker, if you were building and starting from scratch, is there anything you'd change?
Well, I think you'd like to have more electricity on board, and we are always very careful with our electricity consumption, and I mean, when there is sunshine, there's not a problem, because you charge your batteries about 6-7 hours during the day. That's all, you got about 6 hours. But if the wind is coming, if the sails are covering the sun, you have much fewer hours to charge your batteries. And if you don't have sun the next 2 days, you deplete your batteries. I guess if there is anything that I would like to have more is more electricity, but that's same with everyone. And I'd love to keep everything on all the time, but in real world, not many yachties can leave everything. Even if you're on a big boat, you can't just leave everything on all the time. You just don't generate any electricity. So there isn't much you can change, really. I mean, you sometimes wonder about these electric outboards that we have. You know, I wish I had a 3.5 horsepower over to 3 horsepower petrol engine, not because that you would go further with it, but I guess it costs 1/6, 1/8 of this electric business that we have. It's very, very costly to run an electric engine, and also it doesn't have enough oomph when you are going into a harbor, but this is the rules. We have to have electric engines, so that's the under.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it won't change because the solar capacity matches the battery capacity, and the battery capacity matches the solar capacity. And the idea is not to turn the boats into a Christmas tree. You know, if you go dark and you get no power, you can still keep sailing.
Absolutely.
You know? So there's a reason. And even with the outboards, you know, it's all about outboard development and just to see what the reality is. Yes, it'd be good to have bigger. You can get bigger, but then it uses more power and. You know, lots of issues there, but it's a bit safer. And
so far, we went into every single harbor. We came out of every single harbor. Yeah. I guess this redundancy, or that it only will last you an hour or so, that knowledge is we are not used to it.
Yeah.
I think that is the disturbing part.
Absolutely.
And normally, but I mean, when I went into the Marquesas Islands, I think the engine was only there for a couple of minutes just to turn the boat around, because we sailed it all the way in. I sailed the boat all the way in. And you know, when I arrived there, I had 92% battery power. Yeah. When I anchored, that is ridiculous, really, that I'm complaining about this as a problem. Yeah. I think that is partly because our insecurity more than anything else.
Yeah, that's exactly. You've got to sail the boat knowing that you've only got a certain amount of power. You know. So that's cool.
And obviously, when you do leave a place, the silence is wonderful. I mean, I own an electric vehicle, and if you say to me, why would you have electric vehicle? Yes, I would, purely because of the silence. Not because it is cheaper, it is not. It costs twice as much as a petrol car. And when you stop in a petrol station, it costs you more than a petrol car to put electricity in. So, but the silence of it is mesmerizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Electric, using electric power. It is something, you know, it's a wonderful. It wouldn't suit everyone, but it is a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a guy out there. He's let's say 25, anywhere to 25 to 55, and he's thinking about the idea of building a 580. Doesn't know whether he'd do the MGR or anything like that. What do you think you'd suggest to him? You know?
I think it would be awful for him to say, "I wish I'd done it," as the years go on. I think to live your life, I should have done this, I should have done that. I think in any business you should go for it. If you don't make it, you don't make it. At least you can say in years to come, I tried, I failed, but you must try it.
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend anyone. You should go for it and see what happens. And
Yeah.
at least you are never going to regret that you haven't tried to enter. And it is a wonderful. And once they start, they will experience something they would not have experienced otherwise.
Yeah. So do you think you're doing this to prove something to yourself?
No, this is an adventure. I'm enjoying myself. Alternative is for me to be at work working 7 days a week. This is the alternative.
Oh, jeepers.
And I adore work. I mean, you know, I'm a workaholic, and this is an alternative. And so I think I prefer to do this at this moment in my life than working, even though I miss working a lot, I have to say.
Yeah. Okay. So you're really doing it day to day, but there's an objective, and it's to get to the finish. Do you think by the time you get to the finish, this whole deal might change you a little bit?
No.
No.
I mean, I already think about the next adventures. You know, that's always in my mind. What I can do next, what I can, you know, what I want to do next, and what I can do with the Trekka. I mean, I'd love to take Trekka into unsuitable territory of doing an Ostar, perhaps. You know, that route, and I don't know. They are the sort of things that goes through my mind.
Yeah.
You know, and I can do things with Trekka if I can't do something else, or you know, I'd love to do another GGR, and all these things in my mind all the time. And when I return, when this finishes, I will go and see how my health is, and then I will take it from there. You know, I think first we must have the health to continue doing these things.
Health is everything, eh, for us young fellas?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So anything else you want to wrap up with? Anything you want to get across to anyone or something?
Well, those people who wants to do it, they should go for it. Start at it, and you will find it a wonderful thing to do. It isn't doing these things is not like going out sailing or doing a 1 week holiday. Planning a journey, a passage plan to go into 100, 200, 500 miles away. Doing this is exciting because you have got a set date you leave, and you get lots of surprises en route.
Too true. All right, that's good. Well done, Ertan, and long may it continue. We'll look forward to seeing you out there to start, and we'll do this again in Cape Town, if not before.
Cape Town.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be fun. All right, good luck. Thanks for looking after the boat, eh?
Thank you.
She's looking good. See you later.